live to Rainier Avenue Radio. It is your host, the most free in the building. Oh my God, you guys, I am in the building here alone by myself. Not all the way by myself, because my boy Daniel is always here holding us down in the background. I don't have this today. What? Kind of weird, but we're going to get this party started in this show on the road. You know what? As you know, when you tune in, we're not so much trying to talk about all the beautiful and good information that we see here at Clean Greens Living. All right, so announcements, you guys. This Saturday, the Call to Conscious Museum opens up this weekend. I'm so excited. And on Lover's Day, are you guys ready for your Valentine's Day? Do you got your presents? Do you know what you're doing? Also remember that Valentine's is just the day and love happens every day, but it is okay to show your special someone that you love them and show them you love them by bringing them to the Call to Conscious Museum. That will be opening up this weekend. So the Call to Conscious will be opening up this Saturday, and it'll be open from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And just remember, Thursdays and Fridays will be from 3 to 7 p.m. You can get your tickets at calltoconscience.world. Don't forget to get your tickets. Come join us at the Call to Conscious Museum right here at Rainier Avenue Radio. The address is on the flyer that is being shown on the screen. And tune in tonight for a special live Black History Month event this week. So is it going to be every night, Daniel?
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, there will be different things that will be highlighted for Black History Month. Tune in tonight. There will be a tribute to Dr. Quentin Taylor at 5:30 p.m. and tomorrow, the Hartfield Enslaved Quilted Collection at 5:30 p.m. Oh my God, you guys tune in for both of those events for Rainier Avenue Radio. But also the quilt collection is so cool. He has such a beautiful story. So you guys please tune in on that. The quilts talks about the history of how our people used it to be able to speak to each other without letting the slave owners and traders know what's going on. So you guys, please tune into all the fabulous things that are happening here at Rainier Avenue Radio. So today, I wanted to talk about, there's a lot going on in this world, but before I got started, and we don't always address it here at Clean Greens, it's not because we don't care. It's just that each of us have a special place and role in this world. And I just feel like my role is to bring joy, but I will talk about certain things here and things that really matter in our community. And remember last week we had Lanisha on, and we were talking about the two young men that got killed last week. And I just really wanted to highlight that that's not the first conversation, and it won't be the last conversation that we have here. There is so much going on in our community, and I just want to highlight that and continue that conversation, but also talk about how can we have joy throughout all of this that is going on in this world. There is just so much. I mean, we got the stinking Epstein files going on. We got a racist man in office that is causing so much chaos and confusion in this, and we're going to talk about it. But I just wanted to bring people's attention and reminder to, I mentioned this on the show a while back, and we just need to continue this conversation. I don't know if you guys ever looked up, I came over by accident once, Marshall's Law. I could definitely be saying his name wrong, but Marshall's Law is this study about what people, human beings need in order to be able to have self-actualization, right? And so when we were talking about what was going on in our community and what's going on with our youth, the first thing anybody ever wants to say is, it's the parents' fault. And then we go down this line of parents' fault, community's fault, generational trauma. All of this can be true, but remember that there is a system in place that is keeping us there. And this system is in place keeping us there because we are too distracted to see and do something. And we have given up hope to think that anything can be done. And when I say that is I think about our system and what's happening, and a lot of it is rooted in racism practices and structures that have been formed and set up to keep people like that looks like me and you, because not every person who looks like us is family, but it is set up to keep us down, right? And so when we talk about ways that we can start helping in our community and making these things better, I look at Marshall's Law Maslow's law. And I feel like that is one of the things that we can really focus on. Everybody say hi, Danielle. He's making sure y'all get that good shot. But Maslow's law is this triangular system that talks. Oh, it's on the screen. See, Daniel is so bomb. Thank you, Daniel. Follow along with me. Maslow's law talks about the different needs people need to be able to get to that mind frame that you in this community wants everybody to have. They have to have their psychological needs met, feeding, breathing, food, water, shelter, clothing, sleep. If people don't have that, how can, and if they don't feel safe and secure, how do they feel loved and feel like they belonged? And how do they build their self-esteem? So until we touch on these in our communities, these are things that we should be touching on in our communities, which I know that I hang with a bunch of cool people that do touch on this. And I'm going to be having them on the show for the rest of the year, talking about ways that we can make sure that our youth have what they need, that their families have what they need. Us at Clean Greens, where we play our part. So if you guys don't know, I am the director of Clean Greens Farm and Market, which is a local nonprofit farm here in Seattle. We grow produce out in Duval and we bring it back to our city, and we give out fresh organic produce to our community for free, because we know how important it is for your family not only to have a good meal, but also a good meal that feeds your mind, body, and spirit. And we throw organic because we want to make sure that we're not putting any toxins and poisons in our system. So that's the way we play. But making sure that people have shelter, places to sleep. We're all fighting over resources, right? And we're fighting over land, like I said before, that we don't own. This is not ours. And this is all spiritual. And so when we talk about what's happening in our community, we also want to make sure that we are staying focused, but don't burn out. It is very easy to burn out with so much going on. It's like you turn on the world news, so much is going on. You turn on the US news, and there's so many conversations and debate about what's legal, what's law, who's doing wrong, who is doing right. And it's very easy to get caught up in doing wrong. And this is how our system continues to play it out in the way that it plays it out, because we continue to get caught up in what we see people doing. And then we start to become monkey see, monkey do. We start to get burnt out where we don't call people out on it. But let's just talk about racism for a moment. Racism can be taken out of this country and its system, but it will take us coming together and fighting. And what it looks different for everybody. And one of the things that I see that really keeps the system going is when we accept it within our community and when we accept it within our leadership. So what I mean by that is there are so many of us in this community that deal with racism. And I know that it's been so baked in the system that we have people that still thinks, oh, they're just racist. You're going to deal with racist people throughout your whole time, so you might as well deal with this and get this check. No. It is time to start calling racism out in those moments. When you accept racism for $1, you're showing who you are, and you're showing where your faith is, and your faith ain't in who it's supposed to be in. And I am a firm believer of the Holy Spirit. I'm a firm believer in God, and I will call him the creator for those of you who get so hung up on what you should call this being. But there is a being, right, that has created us. And it's created us out of love. It has created us out of community. It has created us out of beautiful and extraordinary things. And we cannot get caught up in allowing the evils of the world to take over. So when you see someone being racist, whether it's a colleague, whether it's someone you're doing business with, whether it's a family member, whoever it is, start calling it out. You're sitting here in a system that is so uncomfortable for you. Your family is being raised in a system that is so uncomfortable for you. Why are you letting people walk around being free? This is another reason why a lot of our white counterparts are so comfortable, because no one is making them uncomfortable. No one is talking to them about it. We just assume that they're going to be who they're going to be. And I promise you guys, there are some good white, oh my God, that sounds like a racist person. Anyways, but it's true. There are some good white people out here, y'all. There is some good white people out here that loves our community, that wants our community to thrive, and that believes in Black leadership, that believes in people of color leadership, that will support you, that will invest in you. You do not have to be rooted in people who are rooted in racism. You don't have to accept that. You don't have to cuss them out all the time. Like, I don't know why people always assume you got to cuss somebody out to get something done. No, you can have a conversation. I remember a lady trying to talk to me like she'd done lost her mind. And all I said was, you ain't going to talk to me like that. Do not talk to me like that. That's all I said. And she stopped, because the reason why she felt like she could talk to me like that is because I was a young Black person. No, we're not accepting it, you guys. It is time to stop walking around in fear. And it is time to take a stand. Because if we do not take a stand, our community is going to die. Our world as we know it is going to die. And we are going to be so overcome with evil. So that's my rant for that moment. But I want to talk about joy. How can we, in all of this, be joyful? It is possible, y'all. It is so possible to continue to have joy and be a fighter in your community and be a person in the movement. It is so possible. First of all, you got to know where you fit in at. Not everybody fits in at the leadership scale. Like leadership, they say heavy is the head who wears the crown. When you are in leadership, you carry a heavy load. You carry a heavy load, and that takes great responsibility. So if you are in leadership, you have to make sure that you are taking time to have some downtime. It is imperative that you take time to have some downtime. And also, I learned this weekend, just because you can do something does not mean you can do it. And I know, that lesson came so small as me doing my hair and cutting my eye. And it was just this trail of disaster because I was trying to do something instead of resting. In leadership, you have to take time. You have to take time to let someone else do it. I've talked about this book. It's the who, not the how. It is the who, not the how. If you are in leadership, you need to read that book, because so many people in leadership have so many great ideas and so many grand ideas that we want to just run with it. And we want to run with it, but then we cloud our mind and our time and our energy and all these different projects that we're not even giving our full selves to these projects, right? So the who, not the how, talks about, yes, you can have this great idea, but who can you get that can do it? And when we talk about who you can get that can do it, that also comes into being aligned with yourself, so that you can make sure that the people you're attracting people who are going to be in line with you and what you're trying to do. Now, are you picking up what I'm saying? Am I going too fast for you? Because I'm going to make sure that we are being fighters in our community, but also finding joy and also making sure we're not burnt out and we're getting the rest we need. So if you are in leadership, you want to make sure that you are surrounding yourselves with a team of people that you can have help you, send them out to do the job, and trust that you are aligned with people that are like-minded with you and that they can get the job done. Because when you have so many fires on the burner, it is hard to pay attention. And that is something that distracts us from being and taking care of the root of our community. Taking care of the root of the problem in our community. So you got to know where you're at. If you're a leader, if you're a protester, what does your protest look like? Does your protest look like going out in the streets and holding up a sign and and letting the world know that you're here in numbers? Is your protest making content and posts on social media and letting people know what is happening? Is your protest having centers where people come in and you do healing work and you make sure that people are taking care of their mind, body, and spirit as they are out here speaking? You want to make sure that you are creating space and knowing where you fit in these places, so you're not in places that make you feel unworthy. You're not in spaces that make you feel like you got to prove yourself. So now you're working extra hard to burning yourself out and you're not focused. The goal is to stay focused. The goal is to have strategy. The goal is to do the work that you can do and not the work that someone else is supposed to be doing. So make sure that when you're out there doing these things, that you're taking care of yourself and you're staying in the lane that is good for you and not in the lane that you feel like you should be in, or not in the lane that somebody's pushing you. So another thing to make sure that you're doing is making sure that you're standing up and saying, I can't do this. Maybe this other person can do it. Another thing that I realize in our community is that we're fighting over and it's distracting us from what is important, is that we're trying to be seen instead of doing the work. So you got to always ask yourself, am I trying to be seen? Am I trying to do the work? And one of the things that is going to help you not be burnt out and not lose your faith, not lose your hope, not lose your joy, is making sure that you are taking the time to sit down and be aligned, being in alignment with yourself, knowing what your mission is, knowing what your goal is, knowing what you are trying to do and what your call is into this world. And if you are unsure of that, making sure you're connecting with your therapists in your community, making sure you're connecting with coaches in your community, making sure you're connecting with your neighbors in your community so that you can talk it out and get a great idea on who you are, what it is you're called to do, and what it is you can do in this community. A lot of the burnt outness is not being in alignment with yourself, not knowing where is your boundary, not knowing who you are, and not standing in who you are. So you want to make sure that, I just want to make sure that people aren't so burnt out with all this information and then being scared on how and where they can show up at. So talk to me in these comments if I'm not making sense. Talk to me in these comments if you need a deeper understanding or you have some input. Another thing is get moving. When you start to feel stressed out, when you're starting to feel antsy and anxiety, you want to get moving. And I'm not saying get moving like go out of your community, do something. I'm talking about get exercise, move your body. Some people say even if you sit still and you take some time and just breathe in and blow out while tapping your chest, that helps you stay focused. That helps your body recenter. You got to recenter. It is easy to get distracted and get burnt out when you're not taking the time to recenter. One of my favorites and one of my things that I'm going to say and that people don't believe me is read your Bible, read your word for a few reasons. You may not believe in God, but this system is using the Bible to put out all of these policies. And if you're not reading what they're using to understand what they're doing, you're doing a disservice to yourself, right? But then also when you read the Bible, when you're in the word, you start to get a better understanding that this system is not using that Bible. They're using what they want to do and twisting the Bible to their perverted thoughts and ideals. And that reading the Bible for yourselves help you see that. And then it helps you stay firm and it helps you become a better fighter for yourself and your community and your world, because now you know they can't use those words against you because you know those words for yourself. So you want to make sure that you are reading that Bible. Those are, to me, I feel like that is like one of the biggest things that you can do. And it teaches you, like people talk about the Bible being a slave thing. And it's like when I read the Bible, if the slaves are reading the word of the Bible that I read, then they would have been taught how to get out of slavery. They would have been taught that what's happening to them isn't right. And maybe that's why the slave master wouldn't let them read. And maybe the slave master had a different book, but the book I read teaches you how not to be a slave. It teaches you how to be free. It teaches you how to have, how to be in community. It teaches you to check your balance and your powers, because a lot of us get in powerful positions and then we have God complexes and then we start trying to control and manipulate and abuse people. So it teaches you how to stay focused. It teaches you that having a community or having people around you that are aligned with you, having a wise counsel will help you get somewhere. It teaches you common sense. Common sense. It teaches you It just teaches you so much, y'all. Now I can get on here and I can keep preaching, but I'm gonna slow down a little bit. Um, I dare you. I can't read these comments. They're so far away. Is there a way we can make it bigger on my end? Y'all, I'm getting up there. I can't read these little small words. But yeah, so stay in focus on what's happening. I know it's a lot going on, but we got to stay focused on what's happening, but also making sure that we're taking time away to recenter, to get in our community, because the world is talking in numbers, but when you're in your community, you are seeing the people. And we've had plenty of people on here that talks about some of the changes happens inside your community, inside of who's on your city council, inside of who is your mayor, who is your senator, who is your governor. Get to know these people. Get to know there are so many people in your community that are doing policy things, that are doing things that are making changes. I've been to this year alone, I've been to 2 meetings speaking about policy and changes that we're having. Thanks, Daniel. So making sure that you're connected, and that that you know what's going on with your community, and that you know what's happening in the policies and in the, because people be like, I'm not political. And I seen this thing that says you may not do political, but political does you. When you don't vote, when you don't get out in here and know who you're voting for, and you're just voting for someone, like a lot of people voted for Trump because they was like, well, at least we know where he stands. I personally was like, I know where he stands, so that's why I'm not voting for him. And we need to get into those things, realize that that way of thinking, at least I know where I stand with someone, so I'm a vote for them. That's not helping us. Knowing where somebody stands and not standing with them is helping you. All right. So making sure that you're staying focused. Thank you, Pat. She says, awesome advice. I appreciate you. Making sure that you're staying focused on what's happening out here, strategizing, but making sure you're taking away. And I know that sounds weird, but you really do. You got to focus. You got to tune in. You got to hear. You can't let it consume you. And another way to not let it consume you is you got to think about it like this: where there's evil, where there's good, there is some evil. But just because there's evil doesn't mean that God is doing the evil. Like, we have free will, y'all. If you guys read your Bibles, you would know that there is a creator that created us, but he gave us free will to make a choice to do. So when evil people are doing stuff, that is not of God. That is of those people. And so when you are not in alignment, and when you are not in the circles that are in good, you subject yourself to that evil. I hope this is making sense. So you want to make sure that you are not subjecting yourself to the evils of this world and hanging with people who are not aligned with the will of God or the creator, right? But just because those people seem like they're winning, they're not winning. Because if you look at it and you look in your community, there is more people who are aligning in our community and saying enough is enough. I don't want to do this. What can we do to make a change? So we need to start getting with our community. And some of the things that we can do is making sure we're not burnt out first. Because when you're burnt out, you don't do an effective job. When you're stretched out, you don't do an effective job, right? So you got to do a call into yourself. You got to do a call into yourself. Make sure you're aligned. Make sure you're reading your word. Make sure you're moving. Make sure you're breathing. And make sure you're doing deep work within yourselves to check yourself. And make sure you have wise counsel that is around you, giving you wisdom and showing you where you can make changes. And make sure your counsel is wise, and make sure it's rooted in love. Make sure it's rooted in justice for all and not self. Because if you're aligned with the wrong people, you're going to be out here and you're going to get caught up in the evils of this world. So having joy, get moving, stay connected to your community, making sure that you and your community, have food. It's basic. If people don't have basic food, shelter, and clothing, how can you expect them to see and do better? Because when we talk about what's happening just right here inside of our community with the kids and with their family members, people are fighting for resources. People are trying to be seen and heard. They're trying to get their voice heard. They're hurt. Why are they hurt? What is happening? And it has been trickled down from system to system, from years to years, because we have sat here and we have said, this is who they are, so I accept it. I'm gonna stay over here and you be over there. It's not working for us anymore. It's not working. It's time for us to get out there and do something. But you want to be smart, you want to be strategic, and you want to make sure that you're not losing your joy. You can have joy. It is possible to be joyful. Even though all this stuff is happening in the world, I am still joyful, and I'm joyful because I am grateful. I show gratitude for where I'm at and what I have. I'm also a firm believer that I am under God's covering. When you are under God's covering, you are under his protection, and he is going to make sure nothing happens to you. And a lot of times when people hear that, they think, well, people die, so that's not under God's covering. We all have an expiration date here, y'all. We all have a call on our lives here. So when people are gone before time, or when people die because of old age, we all have an expiration date. And it's not of God in the way some people die, but those people's lives touched someone and created a change in something. And so therefore, God still got the glory in that. And I know that sucks and that sounds bad, but it's real. It is just real. You don't believe me? I dare you to check out the Bible for yourself. I dare you to have your own personal conversation with the Creator, and you will see what I'm talking about. It will make sense then. So you want to make sure that you are staying connected to yourself, staying connected to your Creator, and then getting back to the root of the ground, the outside, getting outside, digging your feet and your hands into the dirt and connecting back to Mother Earth. It's like this spiritual awakening and connection that just shows you what's important. And that brings me joy. So moving, being connected to my community, being vulnerable. Oh my God, I hate that word, but being vulnerable to allow people in. All right. And we're going to end it on that note because it is time. I guys hope you guys have a good week, and let's try having joy and taking time and space to get aligned with ourselves and what the real mission is here. All right. Bye, guys.